Welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the main card fights for UFC 240, Holloway versus Edgar. So without further ado, let's get to our first fight on the main card. So in our first fight on the main card, we have in the middleweight division, Marc-Andre Barriault versus Krzysztof Jotko. So looking at this fight, you got two fighters, I think both around 29, 30. Jotko's turning 30 later this year. Marc-Andre Barriault turned 29 earlier in February, so he's 29 throughout the rest of this 2019. But whatever the case, age really not much of a factor in this fight. They're both really like a couple months away from each other in age, not no big deal or nothing. So both 6'1". I think Jotko will have a 77-inch reach to Barriault's 74-inch reach. I feel like Barriault's a solid fighter. He's had some stiff competition outside the UFC, but he certainly hasn't fought the level of UFC competition until his last fight, in which he debuted in the UFC against Andrew Sanchez in a close decision loss, but nothing to be ashamed of. So looking at these two fighters, I think they're both very similar. Both can grapple, both can strike, both, like I said, 6'1". Both very sneaky and powerful with their kicks. I think Barriault has a little bit more power in his punches than Krzysztof Jotko. Where I think the edge is that Jotko will have a good 3-inch reach advantage over Barriault. And I think Jotko has that experience in the UFC. He knows how to use that. He's better at using his range with striking. He's better at his striking defense. Is much cleaner, and he's not going to be an Andrew Sanchez. He's a much better striker than Andrew Sanchez is. He might not be as good of a wrestler, but he is very sneaky at mixing up his grappling with his striking, or striking with his grappling. And I think that he's better in that area than Barriault. He's better at controlling range. He's better at mixing in grappling with his striking than Barriault. Barriault's striking grappling is no like slouch in the grappling area. But I think Jotko does a better job at mixing it up. So I think he'll be the one looking for opportunities to get takedowns when necessary to, score points, get control, mix it up, and cause issues for Barriault. I think that's really going to be the issue. It's going to be more so like an experience issue that Jotko will, or a matter of experience that Jotko has over Barriault. And I think it's going to be a competitive fight, but I think that experience is going to show in the fight. And I think Jotko wins a competitive decision. So in this fight, I got Krzysztof Jotko via decision. Now on to our next fight we have in the lightweight division, Aubin Mercier versus Armin Tsarukyan. But yeah, look at this guy right here. Tsarukyan, I think he debuted on a short notice against Islam Makhachev and put on a very good performance. He did lose that fight. It wasn't no robbery, nothing like that. But he came in on short notice and fought one of the most highly touted lightweight prospects there is at the moment, and put on a good competitive fight. Gave him some issues in the grappling, gave him some issues on the feet. And that was on short notice, and really nobody's really been giving Islam any type of issues over the past 2 or 3 years. So that's a really impressive dude that on short notice. And you got Aubin Mercier, who's kind of been stationed. I'm not saying stationary, but he's kind of been in the same spot, certainly improving, certainly getting better, but he hasn't really been rising up the ranks too much. He's kind of been in that same spot. I think Aubin Mercier can certainly challenge him in all the areas in this fight, in the grappling, the striking, and certainly with his experience. But I really think his best advantage is his experience. I think Armin Tsarukyan, in my opinion, has the better grappler overall. He's the better grappler than Mercier. Talent-wise, he has more talent than Mercier. Striking, Mercier, like I said, that's more so experience. But I think Tsarukyan just has a much higher ceiling overall than Mercier. So I think it's more so be the experience, trying to use that experience against Tsarukyan. But I really think that Tsarukyan is going to be too big, too young, too physical for Mercier and be able to beat him on the grappling. I think he's not going to be what's called hesitant to let his hands go, let his feet go, let some spinning back kicks go in this fight. I think Mercier will, like I said, he's going to make it competitive. But I think Armin Tsarukyan is going to be coming with such a high pace, so much intensity. And I think in the grappling, it's going to show just a different level. I mean, like, Mercier might have a slightly better BJJ than Tsarukyan, but that sambo, that grappling right there, it's going to really neutralize a lot of stuff that Mercier is going to want to do, especially if he's on his back. And I think that's where Mercier is going to spend a lot of this fight. It's going to be on his back, taking shots from the top, being smothered, either getting hit with like volume on the feet, mixed up with takedowns, and constantly being worked the whole fight. And I say he's still going to put on a competitive performance, but I think it's going to be a clear-cut decision with Armin Tsarukyan pretty much dominating this fight. So in this fight, I have Armin Tsarukyan via decision. Now on to our next fight we have in the welterweight division, Geoff Neal versus Niko Price. So looking at this fight, you got Niko Price, solid veteran of the UFC, kind of unorthodox striking, some weird power, decent grappling. You got Geoff Neal. I think he does have some decent grappling as far as Geoff Neal goes. I'm really not going to look too much into his grappling. As far as this fight, I'm looking more so into his striking. He has some real clean, real scary striking, real accurate, real sharp, real fast, real good precision, and some phenomenal takedown defense. I'm not going to say he's among the 1% of takedown defense, but certainly maybe in that 10%, 15%. So he has some real good solid takedown defense from what we've seen so far in his UFC career. Hard to get a shot on him, and even if you're deep in on the shot, it's still like almost kind of difficult to seal that shot on him. And he just pops right back up, even if you do get a good shot on him, as far as takedowns. I think on the feet, Jeff Neal is just the much cleaner striker, the much composed striker. And with Nico Price's unorthodox striking, I think Jeff Neal is going to pick him apart for those mistakes he might get that might work with other people. It's not going to work with Jeff Neal, in my opinion. I think Jeff Neal is going to be able to tag him up. He's swinging those wide, loopy shots. He's going to get countered, to get caught. I think Jeff Neal stops him in the first round. So in this fight, I got Jeff Neal via first round TKO. Now on to our co-main event. We have in the women's featherweight division, Cris Cyborg versus Felicia Spencer. So I don't know if this is for the vacant women's featherweight title or they're going to keep Amanda Nunes as the champion. I don't know what it is, but either way, this fight is happening. I don't even think it's going to need all 3 or 5 rounds. I think it might not even need 2. Probably going in the first round. So looking at this fight, you got Felicia Spencer coming off a win over, I forget her name right now, but tall chick. She's pretty solid. Well, all right, solid, decent. She's certainly a respectable fighter. Give her that credit. But going to Cris Cyborg is just a whole different level. Despite coming off a loss to Amanda Nunes, Cris Cyborg is still Cris Cyborg, and she's going up against Felicia Spencer, who's more so a very one-trick pony, one-dimensional fighter. She might have some striking, but it's kind of very sloppy, kind of flaily punches, and where she's at her best is on the ground, on top of you, going for submissions. Then going against Cris Cyborg. Cris Cyborg is a well-rounded fighter. She has a high, I don't know, I'm not going to say definitely anything, but I think she's at least around the black belt. She might be a black belt. If not, she's definitely more than confident enough and composed enough on the ground to appear like a black belt. And I think her takedown defense has shown over the years well enough to be able to sprawl and brawl Felicia Spencer. I don't think she's going to try to go out there and prove anything about trying to grapple with Felicia Spencer. I think she's going to maintain her distance. If Felicia Spencer goes for a takedown, she's going to defend the shot, standing back up, landing big shots, and I don't think Felicia Spencer is going to be able to take those shots. She's never going to have been hit like that before. When Cris Cyborg starts to land those big shots, it's going to be all she wrote. And Cris Cyborg shuts down the takedown offense of Felicia Spencer, then lands big shots and put her out of there, probably in the first round and probably under 3 minutes. So in this fight, I got Cris Cyborg via first round TKO. Now on to our main event, we have in the featherweight division, Max Holloway versus Frankie Edgar for the undisputed featherweight title. Max Holloway is coming back to the featherweight division after trying his shot at the 155 title, with interim title against Dustin Poirier. Came up short. It could have went his way, but it didn't. He lost that fight. It showed a lot of things, and didn't show a lot of things in a way. It didn't really show like, oh, his grappling is bad, or his boxing is bad, or this and that, or this is opening here and that. Especially, I don't think it really showed anything that Frankie Edgar can truly exploit. But I guess maybe the best thing it showed is that maybe Max Holloway isn't invincible. Like, you can't hurt him. He still got a chin on, but you can't hurt him. But I don't think Frankie Edgar packs the power that Dustin Poirier brings, especially up at 155 versus 145. But that's beside the point. But I think this is probably the best. One thing that you could take from this fight, I think this is probably the best chance for Frankie Edgar to fight Max Holloway, and that's coming off a loss. So he's coming off a loss. It's not like he's on this winning streak, 11, 12, 13 fight winning streak, feeling like he's undefeatable. You're fighting a guy who's fresh off defeat, who knows he just lost, and it's not like, but then again, it's not like he got finished or anything. He know he lost, but I was just this close. So he's still confident in himself, still high on his skills, but he's still coming off a loss and not a win, and not a riding that flow or feeling of invincibility. So it's probably the best opportunity Frank Edgar could get to fight Max Holloway. And it is kind of a gifted fight, because what he beat, he lost to Brown Ortega, then beat Cub Swanson in an unimpressive fashion, and now he's getting a title shot, I guess, because he had to fight Brown Ortega, and he's done so much for the league and the UFC, so they'll give him the shot. But this is the best chance he could get to fight Max Holloway, and that's coming off a loss. So looking at the styles, I think Frank Edgar, at this point in his career, I think more so than just age-wise, I think he's kind of become predictable, more so than just his age and getting older. I think he kind of has a set pattern. You know what he's doing. I'm not saying it's like anybody could beat him, but it's kind of like, you know what he's going to do, but can you stop it? I think Max Holloway has the skills to stop what he does. Like Frank Edgar has like his little combo set patterns he does every time that sets this up, sets that up. He does a lot of stuff that maybe wouldn't make sense if another fighter does it. Like these little duck down and little blitzing with uppercuts and stuff, and then to straight. I don't know, it's like a couple little weird combinations he does. He got caught against Brown Ortega because he was predictable. Like, who just comes in blind with an uppercut running into somebody. Because he does that because he knows when he does that combination, people are going to react to that. They're going to cover up and he get ducked down for a takedown. But Brian Taker just saw that, read it, came over the top with elbow and rocked him. That ain't what he hit him with a knee. Nah, he hit him with an uppercut after that or something like some knees, then uppercut. But yeah, Frank Edgar, he got these set patterns. I think for a guy like Max Holloway who's sharp, young, and in his prime, I think he'll exploit a lot of those set patterns that Frank Edgar has. He can exploit the height. He can exploit the angles. And Max Holloway might low-key have T-Rex arms, but he knows how to use his reach. Even though it's not that much of a reach, he knows how to use it and make it look like he has a reach, especially with angles and just combinations and volumes is constantly working. And also, he switches stances a lot, so that's probably another reason how he extends his range with those short. You know, his arms are short. He's constantly switching his feet, so he might be in one stance. Also, when he switches his stance, his arms are longer because he's in a different stance. That's probably the mystery behind Max Holloway's style and how, he got short T-Rex arms. It looks like they're longer because he's switching stance while he's punching and physically extending his punches by switching stance. So that's probably a little secret note about him or something. But yeah, to get to the point in this fight, I think, like I said, Frank Edgar, not just because he's older now, but because he's been around and so many people seen him and you can see that he has these set patterns to what he does. I think in this fight, it's going to be more so about can Frank Edgar get him down and control him, and how will Max Holloway deal with that. I think Max Holloway's style of constantly moving, constantly creating angles and always fighting and switching stances will cause Frank Edgar issues to find that leg or find that hip, find his way to Max Holloway hips. And especially with the volume and the cardio and that warrior spirit, Max Holloway's not going to just lay down and just get taken down and just be on his back. He's going to be working the whole time, making Frank Edgar work. And if he defends Frank Edgar's shots, like takedowns, he's going to make Frank Edgar pay and make Frank Edgar have to work. I think at this point, Max Holloway just has a lot more in his tank than Frank Edgar. And I think he's going to put it on him, make him pay for every shot he takes, whether he lands it or not. And you've seen in the Barriault Taker fight, you've seen some other fights where he fought solid grapplers. I'm not saying that Frank Edgar wrestler level type of grapplers, but still you saw how comfortable he is with like grapplers that can submit him and just constantly he gets taken down and pops right back up. They can have it go for a submission. He'd be comfortable. You never see him look uncomfortable in a fight. He always look calm and composed, and that's the necessary ingredient you need when you're going against a solid grappler like Frank Edgar, solid wrestler. Defend those shots. If you get taken down, pop back up, keep working them, make them feel like those takedowns didn't even happen. Like if you take you down, just pop back up and land shots. And I think that's kind of what's going to happen in the fight. I think Frank Edgar, if he does even get a couple shots, I think Max Holloway's going to work back to his feet. He's going to be defending shots, landing big shots, or landing volume, and keep making Frank Edgar feel the fact that he's in the fight, never feel comfortable, and start to wear on him. I think the volume of Max Holloway is going to wear on Frankie Edgar down the fight. I think around third round, Frank Edgar is going to have a little bit too much of those shots. He can't take those shots the same way he was when he was like in his his 20s or early 30s. I think Max Holloway is going to wear on him. And I think in that third round, he stops him in the third round. So in this fight, I got Max Holloway via third round TKO. And that concludes my fight predictions for the main card of UFC 240, Holloway versus Edgar. And as always, thanks for watching.